thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright.
Youth Spin is sponsored by the Department of Youth and Culture. This special 2.5-hour segment entitled The Manifesto Special is brought to you in collaboration with the National Youth Ambassador Corps. I am Ambassador Clemville Hodge, and I'm joined by my co-host, who is also a Youth Ambassador, Mr. Andre Samuel. And we would like to welcome our guests. So far we have had the leader of the AUM party. We have had the leader of the AUF party. Now we have an independent candidate, Ms. Pam Webster. I'll leave you introduce yourself right now.
Yes, I am Pam Webster. I'm affectionately called Pam, and I'm a proud daughter of Island Harbor in District 1, and I'm standing in the coming election as an independent candidate. And I'm a professional, I'm a lawyer by profession. I've been practicing upwards of 25 years. My specialism is in international financial services. I provide, through my firm, Webster services to high net worth individuals, as well as I provide a lot of domestic services, legal services to Anguillians in various areas where we have a strong litigation department as well. And one of my areas of work has been, to direct foreign and direct investment to Anguilla and to advise in relation to, opportunities in this economy.
Thank you very much, Ms. Webster. I'll start off with the first question. I'm quoting from your manifesto, and I quote, "The simple reality of a new government," end of quote. What new government are you referring to, as you have run against the AUF and the present AUM administration? How do you plan on creating this new government without, and I quote, "the same old baggage of poor decisions and band-aid fixes," end of quote?
That's very interesting question. And before I start and before I go into the substance of the answer for you, I just want to say to our listeners what a joy it is to be speaking to our young people directly. This is the reason that I've moved forward in the campaign. I've wanted to engage our young people. It's our young people who call our campaign the winning campaign. And yes, I'm an independent candidate, but our young people share with me that their vision is for new ideas, new leadership in government. So that is really the foundation of, the reason that I'm moving forward in this campaign. What I see is, how we're organized right now. We're 7 districts, and we've been organized like that since 1976, when the ministerial system was introduced. And there's been no advancement constitutionally. Many people I talk to feel that, the way we are organized in terms of districts is way out of line with what the aspirations of our young people are. The young people say that to me. They would like to be able, like in other jurisdictions closer to us, to be able to vote at large for all 7 people. And so in their minds, 7 people elected by them should form the government. And certainly we're in a position where when I'm elected, come 23rd April, we're going through the process that we've always gone through, which is, finding, like-minded persons, people really caring about Anguilla and the future of not just the youth, but our elderly, our special needs people, all our people, and especially our vulnerable people. We need to find people of that caliber to start with. Now the question is, you're suggesting is that the party system produces perhaps, a ready-made team structure, government structure. And certainly I know that, every party leader would like you to believe that. But the reality is, if you look at our history, and you will see that we've got rather a checkered history since 1976, when the ministerial system of government was introduced. And you will see that we've had independent candidates. In fact, our present Chief Minister, Mr. Hughes, was an independent person. He was also the member of various parties along the way. So you see a checkered history where outside of the personalities, you don't see the leaders coalescing around any central concept. And what I would like to do is what we would like to see, and I speak for the young people and for all of you, I believe, we would like to see a competent government focused on, the aspirations, focused on the vision of an Anguilla where we have competence, where we have integrity, where we have high performance, where we have accountability, where we have the role models in our daily lives that can inspire our children and our young persons to great levels of leadership. That is what we want. And I can tell you, I've said earlier that I'm very inspired by our young people, and I'm humbled by the process as well, because I learn so much from you every day. You encourage me to aspire to lifelong learning. It is a very humbling experience, but I can identify when I was a young person, when that ministerial system of government was introduced in 1976. I was 14, 15 years old. I was 15 in 1977. And I can tell you there were two women in government, really at the beginning, and two great women, Teacher Albina and Idalia Gums. And after them, there were no more women, I'm sorry to say. Many women ran in the elections, many women, but none of them were successful in being elected. But I was at an impressionable age when those great women were doing marvelous things to stimulate leadership and to encourage investment in our people, investment in education. So pretty much that's my aspiration for where we're going to go with the new government. I would like us to be modeling those values all over again. And so you will see that the manifesto, it's headed A New Anguilla Now, and you will see what I've pointed out, and I only saw this. You will see in many of the instances, many of the examples that we put forward, you will see Anguilla in very different ways, and New Anguilla in different ways. But the wording came from We're Out to Build a New Anguilla. That was the charter in 1967, and it was a very emotional time. It's when all our people, including our children, I will probably be the only politician you will see wherever I am at a significant event, there will be children there. I want them to be there, because at 5 years old, I was a part of that revolution, and I am convinced, and many people say to me, Pam, that's what I see in you, that passion for those values, for that commitment, for bringing our people together. And I'm convinced that it was at that very impressionable time. And that's why I invest and have invested in early childhood education. It's why I start strategically always working with our children and our young people. And a lot of the older politicians will joke. I have a good relationship with most of them. They will joke and say, if the children could vote, there would be no competition. But the reality is that if we're investing in our children, And it's not just about winning an election for me. It's about empowering our society to be the best and to lead. That is what this new Anguilla is about. So new and now, new, the new ideas and new leadership I spoke about, but now, because we have no excuse not to do it now. Almost 50 years after the Anguilla Revolution, we're still to deliver an empowered society.
Sure.
And our young people, your colleagues, the youth, where I'm always talking to them and they're listening to me now, and I know you're waiting for me to come to this event. You've planned the good young people of District 1, and I'm getting there. I'm getting through this and I'm getting there, but I'm reaching you and I'm hearing you, and now we're going to deliver it. We are able to do it now. We're tired of waiting, and I hear you.
So that's a good segue, Pam, because you're touching on education, and I realize it's one that you're very passionate about. But in looking through your work in the manifesto and listening to you on the campaign trail, why, in your words, why do we need education reform? Because you mentioned that we need something solid because the existing one has failed us. So why would we need an educational reform, and then what form would it take? Could you describe that for us?
Okay. Where do I start? I start with what's stated in the manifesto, that education, and it's well recognized, Nelson Mandela said it, that education is the most powerful weapon to change the world. You don't need arms, you just need investment in education. What kind of reforms we need? We need a lot of reform. But we can't plan out our educational reforms unless we know where we want to get to. And where we want to get to, I started off by saying we want to get to an empowered society. We want to get to an educated society. But we want to get to a prosperous society, and that is the vision. That was the vision in 1967, equal opportunity and a prosperous Anguilla. We want to get to a prosperous Anguilla. How we get there is by having a national development plan. We have to start off and know. And you can look at the opportunities that young people across the world are looking at now. For instance, the most wealth that's been generated by young people, it's like if you look at Finland, if you look at Angry Birds and that app and what it's done across the world, if you look at what happened with Nokia, those are the kinds of opportunities that exist. And what's wonderful about Anguilla and our young people is that we just have a knack for it. We are good at it. And I believe that if we made programming, say, a part of our curriculum, in 7 years, this is where the world is going. In 7 years, we will be ready. We will be rolling out that incredible app that's going to transform who we are and how we operate and how we're perceived across the world. So just a little change like that, bringing it in really early. I believe, and if you look at the manifesto, you will see what we call low-hanging fruit. It's not like, I really believe we need better facilities. I don't believe you can expect your young people to be excellent in science and technology when they don't have any facilities or resources that will allow them to focus and develop those strengths. So obviously investment in those areas as well. But when I talk about low-hanging fruit, I think, again, from the Finnish model. Finland, I know it because I've been there. I've consulted with, the people in education there. I have, extremely really good connections, passionate about education. And, Finland is recognized now in the world as being the leader in terms of academic excellence. And you would wonder, absolutely, and you will wonder why. Because they have a lot of practices that are, for me, coming out of a highly disciplined environment where you had to get up and go to school every morning. I saw a lot of flexibility in their system. For instance, every 45 minutes you can play. They don't start school, formal school, until the children are 7 years old. There are a lot of things that they do differently. But one of the things that I love what they do is that teachers are really well respected. Teachers are continually trained. Teachers are continually encouraged to be excellent at every level. But teachers are also encouraged to participate in a social context with the children. So at lunchtime, a teacher sits as a supervisor with those children, not supervising in a hierarchical structure, but as part of a group where, just like a family structure, where they're eating together, they're sharing thoughts. And as wealthy as Finland has been, every child in Finland has the state, the nation provide a meal for them. So you have an equal foothold, every child, and you don't have that discrimination, well, that you have this better than that person. So even though as from an external context in the world, they are competitive and highly, aimed at excellence, the reality is they are valued for collaboration, for cooperation. Those are the kinds of values that we had and enjoyed when I was growing up, that I believe that we haven't carried very effectively, and I want to work at that.
Yeah. I see that you have a model that really looks at investment in resources, continued education, so there's capacity,
remedial learning,
and so forth.
Yes.
You also mentioned something earlier, a national development plan.
Yes.
And I know that's a huge undertaking for any country, but it provides strategy, it provides vision. And so far we've had historically at least two of those. Forced on by the father of the nation, Pam Webster, from in 1983, I believe, and then one in 1991. How do you hope to put these sorts of values, not only with education, but in terms of developing a national plan?
I think that, just like you will see that, my manifesto is pretty small, isn't it?
But sometimes simplicity is good.
Yes, and I believe in that. It's also, we've tried to make it paperless. We're of the future. Our future is now. And I often joke and say, when I talk to young people, that we've got to imagine an 8th constituency. I get great fun with our young people doing this. An 8th constituency. And you know what that 8th constituency is in Anguilla? It's the future. And let's see what the needs of the future, let's personify them, let's make them real, let's envisage what they are right now, and let's plan it out. So I think that same kind of approach, going through the community, I love the idea of being a change agent. And that is what I am. It's been how I've been always. But what I love about it is that, just like this, you can actually say, we're nearly paperless. Where, it's been delivered in this way. We can't totally transition, because we have to use the newspaper to distribute, recognizing that we have niche groups that we have to look after as well. And, they require it to be delivered, whether in the newspaper or whatever. But if you say that, and you will see that in my message, I say, this is just, where I am, and it's going to change, and I want you to be a part of that change. I want you to tell me what you think could be improved. I want to share the ideas. I want it to be an ongoing basis. I think that's how you get to a national development plan, because you have to make our people you have to cheerlead them through the exercise. Make it fun for them, make it happy for them. And one of the things that I say, why the word happy, is because I believe that the way that we can test the vision is always through the happiness index. And sometimes when people are building, we might not have a lot, right? I think we got massive amounts. I think we've got incredible resources. We've got the most phenomenally wonderful people in the world. We've got the most talented, gifted young people in the world. I'm convinced of that. Really, and I'm looking at you. I love it. And we have that. So what do? We absolutely make sure that we get the best minds invested into the exercise, and in terms of the happiness index, that at whatever you're doing, when you measure it, you measure how your people are feeling in response to that, and they feel good about the exercise. So when we're collating data, when we're doing stuff, if they're happy doing it, if they're focused on that vision and working towards, we're getting there.
Yes.
So that's how I feel.
Thank you very much. My next question. Your manifesto has a strong focus on education and training, which was prefaced with a fitting Nelson Mandela quote, which you mentioned earlier. One of your titled pragmatic steps is to amend the school's curricula, but there have been studies to harmonize education systems in the region. Do you think Anguilla should diverge from the OECS curriculum movement?
You know, and it's a big, big question, but I believe that there is opportunity to influence in the region, a higher level of thinking. I think that, one of the responsibilities we have as regional leaders, and it's a role I feel comfortable in because I've been in international financial services, and there are many, many large countries, larger countries than Anguilla in the region, but they look to us sometimes to guide them in areas involving, the delivering of new products in international financial services industry. So I think that we can take a leading role and go there. It's not like we have to just take what's developed and thrown at us. We have an opportunity to participate. But I think, yes, that the ultimate responsibility we have is to our people and delivering that vision and meeting the needs of our young people and the needs of the future constituency, as I described. And I think if we have to diverge, being different, we can absolutely, make a difference as well. But I think what comes first is the quality of the life of our people.
Thank you.
And sustainable development.
All right. Thank you, Pam. Next question is, I guess looking at fishing village, fishing person.
Yes.
Fishing everything. Your approach thus far has been very participatory. Not to have to repeat a repeat of the people's market. Do you think that fishermen should maximize or would maximize the use of a municipally organized central fish market or a central marketing system for fishermen, given that the industry is currently filled with several fishing persons doing their own thing, and who already have established markets or customers, and they already set their own hours of the day. I'm just trying to give the premise for all the dynamics that happen with fishermen. They're individual, they have their own markets, they have their own customers. Do you think an organized structure would work well, given the dynamics that exist?
Well, let me tell you what I think. I think absolutely there is value in a collective effort. I believe in teams, I believe in big pies, I believe in everybody to participate in. But one of the things I know as an Anguillian, and I'm highly competitive myself, and I'm a highly independent person. You see it in the politics that, I go against the grain, but I believe I do it with the right motivation, and hopefully we'll get the right results. And what I think about our society, our fishermen, is we've got to really understand, we've got to listen to our fishermen. It's not for us to tell them how to do it or what to do it. It's for us to help them, to share with them, to lead them, to help in changing the culture so they no longer feel burdened or constrained by that collective effort. I know that it's doable. It's not an easy task. I know that it's doable because we've done it in the financial services industry. And it's taken a lot of work and a lot of commitment. But I absolutely think that the value of a collective effort, particularly where we're going with fishing, I think can absolutely allow for us to be really competitive in terms of the world markets. And so, it's a stage that we'll have to get to. But I feel that you can only bring people together and have people, move in that direction when you identify with them and you support them and you understand what their real challenges are with being coerced into a structure that sometimes in terms of governance they don't understand, they don't see the relevance, it holds them back, they don't get satisfaction. So we've got to work it so that they see very clearly that it can benefit them, and we will do that with time.
Yes, thank you very much. Our next question is, the interim stabilization levy is among the top 5 revenue generating accounts for the government. What taxes do you think can be implemented that would be construed as necessary and fair to taxpayers?
Well, I will start off by saying that I think the interim stabilization levy has been the single most damaging tax that's ever been imposed in Anguilla. And the reason it has been is because it's stymied entrepreneurship. I think it's directly responsible for the stagnation of our economy. I want to say that my position about taxation, and you may have heard me in the past speak about taxation. I'm an expert in international taxation. It's actually what I did my postgraduate degree. And then at the time when I did it, all my friends laughed at me because we were zero tax jurisdiction, and they're thinking, why would you do a degree in international taxation? But I really wanted to understand how we could remain a zero tax jurisdiction and build out an international financial services industry that was premised on Anguilla being a zero tax jurisdiction. Now what that meant, we've always had taxes in the sense that we have indirect taxation, but indirect taxation is not a threat to international business. Direct taxation is. And the interim stabilization levy, doesn't matter how you dub it, but from the outside it looks like an income tax. So for instance, suddenly in the area of international financial services, we were challenged. We couldn't promote Anguilla anymore as a zero tax jurisdiction. We could say we were a low tax jurisdiction, but that required for us to be profitable and successful, we would need treaties, and as a British overseas territory, we're not in a position to negotiate those just like that. So you could imagine that, not understanding the significance of that interim stabilization levy presented a challenge to us bringing in more international business. Now what I can tell you is I am absolutely committed, and I know the private sector is committed to getting rid of that levy. And the reality is it contributes how much? $16 million or thereabouts? Not really a lot of money. International financial services actually contributes upwards of 20% to the gross national product. But when you look at the interim stabilization levy and $16 million, we could do that multiplied several times if we had the right focus in our financial services industry, the right focus. And you know what would be beautiful about it? A lot of our young talented people would have a lot of opportunity getting involved as entrepreneurs in that area, and we would be moving towards a knowledge-based economy that is substantial and that is sustainable, and we'd be already modeling opportunity for our young people, whether as accountants, as lawyers, as in every single area there is opportunity. In ICT, in every area, in marketing, you're in public relations, in just technology. There's just so much opportunity.
Can you list in point form maybe three possible taxes that would be fair to taxpayers that could replace the stabilization levy?
You see, this is the key, and I want to tell you. For me, it's not about taxes. It's about creating revenue for your country.
Yes.
And the people who lack leaders, who lack ideas, always go to taxes. You don't have to just glimpse other people's history, and you will see it. And that is what happens. And we could find ourselves ultimately lumbered by a lot of taxes. One of your leaders, while we were driving in on the radio, I heard them talking about the VAT. I want to tell you that all the studies, including Caribbean studies, all the studies show that our countries that's implemented that property crime, there's a relationship between that tax and property crime that is scary beyond words. So countries are actually looking to move away from that. Why do we have to be proactive? What we need to do is create revenues for our people. $16 million, EC, is not a lot of revenue when you think about the hardship that it imposes on our people and the investment that in our economy that it stifles. So I don't see neither VAT. I like, believe it or not, and I know the speaker also said, well, you'll get rid of customs, but historically they say that, but they never get rid of customs. You still have that, and then you have a double system, and it's onerous and it's ugly, and it cuts off the opportunity that you would have in other creative areas to create money. I want to tell you something that will be interesting to you young people. I just read a very interesting, I read it last week and I reread it today, a very interesting dissertation by somebody in India. And I can't remember the caption now, but really the view is that by 2050, borders won't be relevant because all business will be conducted online. Can you imagine that? What are you thinking about VAT when you're going to go to that kind of level? Do you understand? It's already outdated before you start if you have a vision. What we've got to do is create money. We've got to create revenues. And we can do that through fishing. We can do it through international financial services. We can do it in so many other ways. That's what we need to do.
Powerful message at the end. You kind of encapsulated everything. But I'm going to ask you, Pam, to give us your closing remarks because I was very spirited at the end. So I hope you have some spirit left to give us a closing remark.
Thank you so much. I always have spirit. And I just want to thank you for inviting me. I know as an independent candidate in these times we're kind of looked at as, the parties try to push us into a corner. But I want our listeners to recognize and for you to recognize that there's a lot of opportunity as an independent candidate. And when you look at my message and I want to read it to you if I have that time. Just a couple of words. I want to tell you that I'm fortunate in many ways to stand in the upcoming elections as an independent candidate. And my first good fortune is that it was where I was born and raised in District 1. The second good fortune is my candidacy itself. The support that you've shown for my vision of leadership has humbled and inspired me, which I shared with you. But my independence, and this is the point I want to share, from Anguilla's existing political structures has given me the greatest gift of good fortune, the ability to listen and really to make a difference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a special edition of Youth Spin. I hope our listeners are enjoying. We've had so far the leader of the AUM party, the leader of the AUF party, first independent candidate, Miss Pam Webster, and stay tuned for the next candidate.